Okay, so this is going to be part two of my Triple G Canelo Alvarez trilogy analysis. Let's move the camera a little bit closer there. There we go. Okay, so now after I've went and revisited both the first, I've watched them a couple of times already, but after I've revisited the two Canelo Alvarez and Golovkin fights, I went back and watched, like I said, I went back and watched Golovkin and Morata. I went back and watched Golovkin and Derevyanchenko. I went back and watched Canelo versus Plant, Saunders. I've watched a lot of shit in order to give you this analysis here. So, excuse me. So, what do I think? Okay, this is where I'm going to maybe split the crowd here a little bit, but it is what it is. So, and I'm going to take all this in before I give you my final prediction, okay? So, I hear a lot that, from the Canelo fans, of course, but they're going to, dick ride him regardless, but I do hear a lot about how Canelo has improved so much since the second Gennady-Golovkin fight. And I'm trying to figure out where. Okay? Where has he improved? This is something I never understood. Where has Canelo improved at? He's got a chin. Nobody's denying that. He's got power. Nobody's denying that. He's never really knocked anybody out of significance, which a lot of people fail to mention. But where's he improved? His footwork is still very ordinary. I chuckle at the fact that some of the Canelo fans actually believe that he has better footwork than Lomachenko, which is the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. But you can't change these mutants' minds even when you hit them with facts. So, where is he improved? He still doesn't, he's got some good upper body movement, but he doesn't move his head a lot. His footwork hasn't improved. The only thing I can definitively say that Canelo Alvarez has improved at is he's more juiced up. He's bigger. He's stockier than he was in the second Gennady-Golovkin fight. That's the only real definitive thing that I can say Canelo has gotten better at, is he's bigger. Okay? The other thing I would say that maybe he's doing a little bit better at is maybe his hand speed. But again, given the level of opposition he's been fighting, how do we really know that? Okay? Plant, Yevin Madrin, Rocky from Stocky. How do we really know this? So the only definitive real thing he is, I would say, advanced on since that second Golovkin fight is the fact that he's bigger. He's stockier. He's more juiced. There's definitely not an improvement in footwork. There's not an improvement in upper body movement or head movement. You could say maybe his steroid use is maybe added onto his punching power a little bit, but again, that's up for speculation. He won fucking 11 rounds with Caleb Plant. Or 10 rounds, whatever the fuck it was. So, with that being said, I don't really see any vast improvements. I'm not even trying to shit on Canelo, but it's just too easy sometimes. I don't really see any vast improvements in Canelo since that second Golovkin fight. I still think Golovkin's going to fucking hit him with the jab constantly because he doesn't move his head a lot. And Golovkin's got, I would say, maybe even still the best jab in boxing. Okay? So, that's one thing. Another thing is I've heard a lot about Golovkin's decline. Now, unlike hearing about Canelo's improvements, there is a little bit of truth to Golovkin's decline, okay? He is 40. you know, mind you, he is 40 years of age, okay? The two things that I can see Golovkin might have slowed down a little bit in, okay, are his output, his volume, and maybe his stamina a little bit. So, because he was gassing pretty good in that Murata fight. Now, given he hadn't fought in over a year in that fight, that might have had something to do with that, because that was a pretty fucking high-paced fight with two big power punchers. So that might have something to do with it, but only time will tell. I mean, obviously we got to see what happens in the third fight here. So I think he has slowed down a little bit volume-wise, conditioning-wise, etc. So if I was Jonathan Banks or in Golovkin's team, I would be sure to make sure, because obviously the fucking Canelo fight's going to be fought at a very high pace. The first one was kind of a high pace, it was, but in spurts. But Golovkin dominated the whole time. He didn't really have to bite down like he did in the second one. In the second one, it was very high-paced all the way through. And I would be, in my personal opinion, I think that the second fight is going to be a lot closer to the third fight than the first one was, given the fact that Canelo Alvarez is more juiced up now. He's bigger. Golovkin is, it's like, it's going to be fought at a very high pace, this trilogy. Both guys are going to go out, leave no stone unturned, etc., so forth. So that's my 2 cents on Canelo's improvements and what some people would say Golovkin's decline to an extent. I don't think it might play a factor in the fight. I really have to think about it. Again, I haven't completed my analysis yet, which is why I'm doing multiple videos on this trilogy. But it's still going to be a hard fight for both of them. If there's one thing I can tell you, nobody's getting blown out in this fight. It's going to be a very fucking hard fight for both of these guys. It's just like the second one was. That's what I would say. I think that, again, and I said this in the first break analysis video I did. You have to remember, Golovkin's beaten him twice already, too. Okay? Canelo is coming off a bad loss, and he's in Canelo's head. Okay? Which is very evident at the press conferences they had, because Canelo's been, like I say, because Canelo's been running around here talking shit, and Golovkin's like, hey, man, it's a big fight. I'm going to do my best. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Canelo's like, fuck this guy. I represent Mexico. You know, he talking shit, man. He talking shit. And Golovkin's like, okay, pal, we'll get in there and see what happens. So I would say that Golovkin definitely needs to be fully conditioned for this fight. Okay? I would say that Canelo, I would imagine, because if you don't watch, like, shout out to Tim Bradley. He said this as well. If you don't watch film on your opponent, you're a fucking fool, because you can learn these guys' patterns by watching their prior fights. So I would imagine Canelo, or even if not Canelo, the Reynosos have went back and watched Golovkin's fights with Derevyanchenko and Murata, and they see that he's maybe a little bit susceptible to the body. So I would say that's probably an area that Canelo Alvarez is going to target going into this third fight. Okay. And I'm sure Golovkin's probably aware of that too. So, and I'm sure Jonathan Banks is aware of that. So that would be something that maybe they should, take note of. I think that this is going to be a very hard-fought fight. Again, and I have to say this again, because Canelo's footwork is the same fucking shit that it was at 154. His head movements, his upper body movement might have improved a little bit, but nothing drastic. It's basically the same. Golovkin's still going to fucking stick the jab in his face all night, people. Okay? Again, I cannot stress this long enough. This is why I wanted to go back and study some of these fights. Golovkin has to be in top conditioning for this fight. Stamina. He's gonna have to have a big output, because I think if Golovkin puts a lot of output out there, gives him a lot of something to think about, keeps sticking the jab in his face all night, boom, 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 goes to the body, throws a nice hook at him when opportunity presents itself, it's going to be a tough fucking fight for Canelo, man. Again, he was fighting B-level fighters until he ran it. Between the second Golovkin fight and Dmitry Bivol, he was fighting B-level fighters. And don't give me Kovalev either, because Kovalev was 40 years old and shot to pieces. So this is going to be, I will say this without making my prediction. Canelo's not getting Golovkin out of there. He might beat him on points, yeah, but he's not knocking nobody out. Who of significance has Canelo ever knocked out? Nobody. He didn't knock out Mosley, who's a natural lightweight. He didn't knock out Cotto, who's a natural 140-pounder. He never dropped Golovkin. He didn't knock out Jacobs. He's never knocked even Callum Smith. He's never knocked anybody out that was noteworthy. Ever. He's not getting Golovkin out of there. He might beat him on points, given the fact that Triple G has slowed down a little bit, and it's visible, but he's not stopping him. He's not stopping him, people. Never mind you. That's why I mentioned all that about Golovkin being a little bit susceptible to the body, because he's got the fucking best chin in boxing, or arguably. So that's after going back and watching the Canelo Plant fight, the Canelo Saunders fight, some of the Canelo Jacobs fight as well, and the Golovkin Jacobs fight, both of Canelo and Golovkin's fights together, Golovkin Murata, Golovkin Derevyanchenko. That's just my interpretation of the matter. Okay. So I will say this, the next time I upload a video on this fight, well, maybe the next time I upload a video on this fight, I will give you my official prediction. Okay. But that's my read after going back and studying all the, some of their previous fights, a good chunk of them at least, since they've last fought each other. And like I say, in my opinion, Golovkin's won both fights. I think it's very interesting. Golovkin's going to have to, he's definitely got an uphill battle. He's got Father Time working against him. He's got the establishment of boxing working against him. He's got corruption, the WBC. He's got all of that working against him. So he definitely has an uphill battle in this fight. Is it an unwinnable fight? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Again, that's why I wanted to reiterate all of the improvements that Canelo had, because there are none. There are none, people, since that last fight. The only improvement that he had is that he's juiced up more and he's stockier and he's bigger. So in that, by extension of that, you could say maybe he's hitting a little harder. But other than that, there's no fucking major improvements from Canelo. Like I said, and I hate to keep beating a dead horse here, but the only reason Canelo has even took this third fight with Triple G is because he's 40 years old and he has visibly slowed down. That is it, people. Otherwise, Golovkin wouldn't have chased him over to the zone and but that's my two. I'm gonna leave it right there. Okay, I'm gonna leave it right there. That's my 2 cents on the matter. The next time I upload, not a stream, I'll probably do a stream on it, but the next time I upload a video on it, unless some bullshit happens like Canelo tests positive or the fight gets called, unless some out of range circumstances happen, I'll give you my prediction. Okay. I'm going to take it all in, take all the studying I just did and suck it all in, take all the info in, and I will present it to you as that. Okay. So that being said, I hope everybody's having a wonderful night. God bless you. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Salute, and God bless. Peace.